Okay. Thank you for joining this School of Living Zoomcast. School of Living's mission as a nonprofit educational organization is to explore challenges of living, hold land in trust for present and future generations, promote personal empowerment, and support the development of just and sustainable communities. Hold on a second. While there is no charge for this Zoom event, we appreciate a suggested donation of $20 or as you can to help support the work of School of Living. Better yet, consider becoming an active member of School of Living. You will find the link for donation and membership in the chat box. Tonight, we are happy to have Bonita Ford working with us in these challenging times. It serves us well to cultivate hope and take action. This session addresses self-care, explores our mortality along with the global ecological crisis, and asks how to create more meaning through taking care of life around us. Bonita is the author of Embers of Hope. She teaches permaculture, nonviolent communication, Reiki, and gardening. She has led workshops around the world for over 18 years, and we're grateful to have her here with us tonight. And with that, I turn the meeting over to you.
Thank you, Jerome. Thank you, Michael, Ann, and thank you so much to the School of Living for hosting me. And thank you to Karen for helping to make this connection. So I just want to start with a brief grounding I just want to start with a brief grounding to have all of us arrive with a little bit more fullness, and then I'll give us an overview of how we'll spend our time together this evening. So I invite all of us just to take a moment and keep your eyes open. They'll have a gentle gaze, so you can look away from the computer. Maybe just look down towards the ground. And just take a few soft, slow breaths. And in this moment, just arriving here in the body, here with the body, here in this moment. Just feeling the body on the chair beneath you or the ground beneath you. Just with whatever you're making contact with. And just closing your eyes about halfway so that there's still some light coming in. And just allowing the colors around you just slowly come in and gently come in through the vision. And just noticing the quality of light. And close your eyes for a moment and just tune in to the sounds around you. You might notice your own breath. You might notice sounds from outside. You might notice the humming of your computer. So just taking this moment to notice. Now breathe through your nose and just notice any smells. Noticing the quality of air as you're breathing in. And noticing the feeling of the air as it comes in and as it leaves your nostrils. And next, open your mouth slightly and stick out your tongue a little. And breathe with your mouth open for a moment. Just noticing any tastes on the tongue and in the mouth. And now again, just slowly opening your eyes halfway again. Letting the light trickle in. And in this moment, noticing the life around you. There might be stillness if you're alone in the room. Maybe people around you, maybe people or animals outside. Can you hear the wind? And just take a moment to breathe softly and comfortably here. And then opening your eyes and bringing your attention here to the group. So welcome, everyone. To begin with, I would just love to invite everyone to share one word for how you are in this moment. How are you in this moment? What's alive in you? So, and your name. So I can start. My name is Bonita, and my word is aliveness. And I think I will pass the talking hat on to the next person. So, and then I will ask you to do the same as well. So I will ask Karen, would you go next, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, hi, everyone. I'm Karen Stupski. And I don't know, I'm just feeling exhausted.
Yeah.
And I will pass it on to, boy, I'm having trouble reading here, Bertie. Bertie, do you want to share your name and one word?
And I think you're muted. Oh, no, there you are. There you are now.
Now I'm not. My name, I go by Bertie. My word, alone. And I'll pass it to Stella Lou Farm.
Thank you, Bertie.
This is Michael Ann, and I guess my word would be restful.
Mm.
And the next person, who would that be?
Do you want to pass it to Jerome, seeing as he's right beside you?
Hello, you hadn't talked that. And the word that comes to my mind is active.
Thank you.
And I will pass it on to Will.
Thank you, Herb. Jerome, listen to me. I'm Will, and my word at the moment is prayers.
Mm, thank you, Will.
And I guess I will pass it on to Grandison. I was out for a little while. Is Grandison gone?
No, I don't think Caitlin's gone yet.
Oh,
Hi.
Caitlin. I'm sorry, I missed your
Hello.
first name.
That's all right. Grandison works. I'm Caitlin Grandison, and my word is excitement.
Mm, thank you, Caitlin. Could you pass it on to the next person, please?
Yes, sorry. I was
No,
so
no problem.
excited. I forgot about that part. I'll pass it on to Joan.
Hey, everybody, I'm Joan Clement, and my word is gratitude.
Beautiful. Thank you, Joan. And I think our last person, I believe, is Will. I'm no, Herb. Sorry, excuse me. And Herb, you are muted still.
Excuse me. I am Herb, and I'm feeling elevated. Good. Okay.
Thank you, Herb. So I'd like to give you what we're going to do in our time together. I'm going to just give you a little bit of a quick overview of my book, Embers of Hope. And I am going to do a short reading from the book. And then I'd like to do a longer guided imagery, guided visualization exercise with all of you. And then we'll have a chunk in the middle of our workshop time to do some personal reflection, some writing. If anybody came in after I had asked people, please make sure to have some paper or a pen or pencil to write with. We'll be using that a little bit later on. And then finally, we'll wrap up our time this evening with some Q&A and some discussion. So I'm just going to start with a quick overview of the book, just to give you a sense of what all of this is about. And what I want to start with, what I always start with, because it grounds me and it nourishes me, is my garden. And I think it's really, really important to acknowledge. So I live in a small town called Perth, Ontario, and this is unceded Anishinaabe, Omama-Winini, Algonquin territory. And it's really important for me to acknowledge that this is the traditional territory of the Omama-Winini people, partly because I think what we're doing together tonight, and so much of my work is about coming back into right relationship again in our communities, with the land. And I really firmly believe that the systems in our society that are oppressing Indigenous people and Black people and poor people are the same systems that are destroying our living planet. And so for me, I really start from this place of acknowledging the protectors, the guardians, the caretakers of this land, those who came before me. And I hope that in my time here, I will leave this place better so that it will continue to nourish those who come after me. I also want to start by saying that I'm not a climate scientist. So even though my book a big part of the book is about climate, it's about the climate crisis, it's about climate chaos. The book is really written from my experience as an educator. So my background is in teaching permaculture, teaching nonviolent communication, Reiki, and gardening. And so the stories that come from the book and the tools and the exercises that come from the book really emerge from my life and my work with groups and my work with clients. So here's Embers, my baby. This has been a labor of love for the last 7 years. And there are 3 parts in this book, and it's important for me, and Jerome mentioned in the beginning that part of what we're doing together tonight is it includes self-care. And for me, I start in the book focusing on inner capacities. So cultivating gratitude and cultivating connection with ourselves and connection with the places where we live, and nourishment, personal inner heart nourishment for our souls, nourishment for our bodies, and cultivating and deepening our love, because I really think that all of these capacities are incredibly important as we dive into the harder work, which is the heart of the book, which is the kind of the crux of the book, if you will, which is about confronting death. It's about confronting and facing the possibilities of the current ecological crisis, and as well the possibility of potential human extinction. And I think these things for most people are very challenging, are very painful. And so I really start in the book, and in our time together, I really want to encourage us to be very mindful of ourselves, be very mindful of our hearts, be very mindful of taking care of our bodies and our minds, because doing this work and facing crisis and facing these existential challenges are, I think, at the core of this work, because in finding the courage to open the door to face what we have to lose, it allows us to step into this. The third part of the book is really choosing how we want to live, choosing and being intentional about how we live each day, how we design our lives, how we interact in our communities, and how we take action for the life around us. So I am going to do a little bit of reading from the book. I think this is the first time I've done a session with Embers that it's been so dark now. It feels like bedtime story time. It's usually a little bit lighter out when we're doing this. But we've got a fire going on, and it's just winter cozy story time. So, okay. So, Embers of Hope. Embracing life in an age of ecological destruction and climate chaos. Introduction. I am concerned we are killing the living world that makes our survival possible. I want to imagine a healthy future for the children I know. Right now, I worry about the hardship they will have to bear in their lifetimes. When I chat with people, be they neighbors or strangers, most agree that things are not working in some way. The state of our environment is dire. Our economies are unstable, and our political systems do not serve the average citizen. And I kind of roll my eyes on a day like today and hope that our political systems will better serve people and life. In addition, many of us may be dealing with personal challenges such as a serious illness, the loss of a loved one, or other trauma. It's not easy to deal with this and still keep our hearts open. The future of life on Earth is uncertain, and our lifetimes are finite. Considering our own deaths, as well as the possibilities of climate catastrophe, and perhaps even our collective extinction, shows us what we have to lose. If we are to find happiness in the face of this, I believe it is up to us to create it while making a contribution to the world. Embers of Hope is about doing just that, embracing life in uncertain times. In this book, we explore death in order to reconnect with our vitality, and we confront ecological devastation in an effort to rediscover our oneness with all of life. Although reflecting on these things may feel uncomfortable or scary at first, ultimately, they lead to uncovering what is truly important to each of us. Personally, my perspective has been radically transformed by the deaths of a dear friend and a close family member. I learned through them to be grateful, to do small, meaningful things each day, to give back to the community, and to let go so that when it's my time to die, hopefully I can be at peace. My loved ones' journeys help me see our global ecological crisis through new eyes. Previously, I thought there were only two options: be hopeful and do everything in my power to change things, or accept that there's nothing I can do and give up. I now try to hold both perspectives. I am doing what I can to foster a healthier world and make peace with the end. I'm nurturing new possibilities and trying to be open to receiving what life brings. When we take the step of acknowledging our own mortality, how does this affect the way we live? When we look at the threats to our planet home, how does this compel us to act? We can nurture ourselves and the life around us through our choices. Those choices can be as simple as helping a neighbor, or they can be as significant as protecting a forest or starting a nonprofit to serve food and secure people in our community. If the end is near, then now is the best time to appreciate life, to feel the air in our faces, to sing, to sit under a tree, to hug a friend. I hope this book will help you realize or remember how you want to live. May this nourish the seeds of possibility and the embers of hope that you carry. Gratitude. It is all too easy to focus on the myriad things that go wrong and to complain about them incessantly, whereas it sometimes takes effort to notice what we appreciate. One day I was feeling particularly discouraged about my life and the state of the world. I complained about it in my journal. Although I felt slightly relieved to have expressed myself, it didn't shift my mood. I decided to take a different approach, so I challenged myself to list 10 things that I appreciated about the day. I looked for things that really touched me. 1, I ate healthy food from our garden. 2, Bastu, my partner, washed the dishes for us. 3, I exchanged a smile with someone on the street. 4, I enjoyed walking to town to do errands. 5, I am healthy and self-employed, so I could go for a leisurely walk. 6, I am self-employed, so I get to spend most of my time at home. 7, I love our home and garden. 8, I get to live with my partner, Bastu. 9, I love my friends and family. 10, I am taking the time to do this exercise. After writing this list, I felt lighter and grateful. As my friend Tosh noted, for some people, it only takes small things to upset them, but it takes big things to make them happy. However, with the change of attitude, almost anyone can find small things to be grateful for. I found that, even in my darkest periods, there was some opportunity to receive kindness or beauty. It might have been a smile from a stranger, a helping hand, a beautiful flower, or an incredible sunset. Gifts can present themselves in simple ways. If we don't pay attention, we can miss the smile, the hand, or the flower. As I think of the challenges we face collectively, I wonder what embers are waiting to be discovered in the ashes. Gratitude is as much about what we have as how we perceive it. Being mindful allows us to be grateful. We can easily want what we don't have while not noticing what we do have. Spending time in Haiti was eye-opening and humbling for me. The living conditions there were more extreme than what I'm used to in Canada. In the places I stayed, we had access to clean food, to clean water, food, electricity, and gas most of the time. In Haiti, it was very common to have power outages, for water and gas tanks to run out, or for kitchens to be low on food. I learned to recharge laptops and cell phones when the electricity was on, to bathe with less than a liter of water, to change travel plans, and to savor a healthy meal. When unpleasant things happened, I was ready to adapt. And when pleasant things happened, I was grateful. In our everyday lives, do we appreciate things going well or getting what we want? Or do we only know the value of something after it's gone? This next piece is from a chapter called A Global Wake-Up Call. In the last couple of years, more places seem to be affected by climate breakdown. Hurricane Harvey in Texas and Hurricane Irma in the Caribbean. Long-term drought and raging wildfires in California and Australia. Wildfires in Greece and hurricanes in the Mediterranean. Severe flooding in eastern Ontario and western Quebec. Tornadoes in Ottawa and Gatineau. And these are only the places where I have family or friends who have shared firsthand accounts. Climate chaos is stripping away the privileged illusion that, as a middle-class person on Turtle Island or in Europe, I live in security or am entitled to a safe future. I can easily get lost in what-if questions. In any case, to be alive or healthy tomorrow or in 10 years is not guaranteed for any of us, so we can make the most of today. Not long ago, Bastu and I were looking forward to a special weekend. Our good friends, Brittany and Alistair, were getting married by a lake, and several of our friends would be there. Despite the fact that there was a tornado warning for our region, we were getting accustomed to such storm warnings in the weather forecast, so we didn't change our plans. As we drove towards the small town of Calabogie, the rain was falling hard enough that the windshield wipers barely helped. Bastu was driving and I was navigating. I was supposed to be looking for a small side road just after the town, though I was talking and not paying attention. About 6 kilometers later, we knew we had missed our turn. We went back and turned onto the side road, only to be stopped short by several large fallen trees blocking the road. We headed back to Calabogie to take another route. As we drove through the town this time, we saw downed trees, a shed with its roof blown off, a broken electrical pole lying with its wires across the road. None of that had been there several minutes earlier. What if we hadn't missed that turn? We would have been on that side road when the damage hit. Would we have been stuck there, or even worse yet, crushed under one of those trees? We drove slowly and left the heavy rains behind. We called other friends to tell them about the bad road conditions. One of them had already arrived at the wedding venue and reported only blue skies there, so we continued on. Unbeknownst to us, the storm that was moving through the region hit as the downburst in Calabogie, with winds recorded at 175 kilometers per hour. and shortly thereafter, 2 tornadoes with winds recorded at 265 kilometers per hour touched down in the Ottawa-Gatineau area from where many of our friends were coming. Some people arrived late, though everyone was safe, and it turned out to be a festive weekend. Brittany and Alistair had a magical ceremony on a beach adorned with cedar boughs. The partly outdoor dining area was decorated with handmade candles and strings of LED lights that reminded me of fireflies. We enjoyed a huge potluck meal, danced late into the night, and ate leftovers for brunch the next morning. It seemed strange to have survived the storm and then to have a lively party outside. On the other hand, it was also the perfect gift, a reminder of our mortality to help us truly appreciate the preciousness of the day. None of us are immune to dying or to natural disasters. Such things can happen without warning, and they give us good reason to celebrate and live fully now. Please don't wait for a close encounter with death to enjoy your life. Appreciate what you have today. Be grateful. Laugh with a friend. Do something kind for a stranger. Make the most of the opportunities you have to share and to love. This next piece is from a chapter called Community. Our communities and social webs are a key part of our resilience, especially when the ecological, economic, or political systems around us become unstable. In 1998, a severe ice storm hit large parts of Ontario, Quebec, and the northeast of the US, bringing down trees and electrical wires and disabling large portions of the electrical grid. The worst affected places were without power for weeks. I was in Kingston, Ontario at that time. I have fond memories of that short period without power. A friend showed up with hot chocolate one day, and we set out to bring hot food to an elderly friend. Large community shelters opened and free meals were served. Strangers talked on the streets. A few blocks of the downtown area still had power since their electrical cables were underground and safe from the weight of the ice and the falling trees. Away from those busy blocks, the neighborhoods were dark, quiet, and peaceful. In her book, A Paradise Built in Hell, The Extraordinary Communities That Arise in Disaster, writer and activist Rebecca Solnit writes that when disaster hits, it is real people, even strangers, who self-organize to help one another. She asserts, the image of the selfish, panicky, or regressively savage human being in times of disaster has little truth to it. Decades of meticulous sociological research on behavior in disaster, from the bombings of World War II to floods, tornadoes, earthquakes, and storms around the continent, across the continent and around the world, have demonstrated this. The immediacy of disaster tends to cast aside the barriers of normal life, so-called normal life, and many people have a strong need to help and be useful. Solnit highlights how people in New York, in response to the attacks of September 11th, 2001, demonstrated an urgent desire to help, because giving to others or doing something gave them purpose. Solnit also emphasizes that the most extreme behavior in disaster situations often come from those who anticipate barbarism and believe they have to defend themselves. We can learn a lot from this. Our dominant culture upholds the idea of competition for survival, whereas cooperation within a species and mutualism between species are widespread in nature. Over 80% of plant species on land have root associations with fungi called mycorrhiza. In this symbiotic relationship, the plants provide sugars made through photosynthesis and can even give up to half of this to their fungal partners. In return, they receive minerals, are more tolerant to drought and salinity, and experience fewer pests and disease. The mycorrhiza can form a network in the soil that connects plants and may promote diversity in the plant community by improving access to nutrients. It is important to recognize that the biggest help in a disaster can come from those in our immediate vicinity. Instead of feeding our mistrust about how dangerous people can be, we can start to connect with our neighbors now. If we can learn to help one another while conditions are relatively stable, then when things break down, we'll be more able to work together effectively and be less inclined to give in to fear. Now, when I worry about potential crises, I remind myself to build relationships rather than fences, and to build relationships where there are already fences. I challenge myself to make more of an effort to get to know the people around me. And this last piece. Climate breakdown impacts each of us in different ways. You may have lost your crops, your home, or your neighborhood to a flood, fire, or hurricane, or you know someone who has. Or maybe all of that seems far away to you, so you try not to think about it because it's too frightening. Or perhaps you cannot stop thinking about it because it's too terrible to deny. Whatever the case may be, I imagine that you and I share some things in common. We care about our lives and about life on Earth. We appreciate happiness. We experience meaning when we help others. Throughout my life, I've grappled with big existential questions. Death and crisis have also fueled such reflections. These kinds of questions may be in the back or front of your mind too. How might I create meaning and happiness in my life through helping others or taking care of the earth? How might I apply my passion and purpose to helping my community or the greater world? How might I live so that I may be at peace when I die? How might I share love and nourishment today? Our responses to these questions point us to what we have to offer the world. We don't have to be superheroes to assist others. In the superhero stories I know, the hero discovers that they have superpowers and are unlikely to die. This compels them to be bold, to work on the side of good, and to save others and the world. In my experience, ordinary, everyday heroes tend to be the opposite. People who recognize that they will die, and this is what compels them to be courageous, to work towards a greater good, and to help others in the world, therein realizing their power. This book is for those ordinary, everyday heroes, which include you and me. When I think of famous leaders like Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela, the Dalai Lama, and Vandana Shiva, I admire their commitment and their love. Even if you and I are not famous leaders, we are the caring hands that nurture our communities both now and for future generations. To be change makers, healers, kind neighbors, and empowered citizens asks us to strive for our highest potential. As you read this book, I invite you to imagine us sitting together in a garden, sharing heroic visions and humble ideas over a pot of tea. So I am going to invite us now to get comfy again, and I'm going to lead us into a guided meditation, a guided visualization. And I see Bertie has a lovely, sweet, cuddly friend to join us. So I invite us to close our eyes and take a moment to tune into the breath. Just noticing the sensation of the breath in the body. And just inviting the breath to be a little slower and a little softer. And with the out breath, just letting go, allowing yourself to let go of any tension that you're carrying, any stress. Just anything that is taking up space in the mind and heart, just letting it go for the moment, putting it down. So with the out breath, releasing. And just with the in breath, breathing in life energy. With the in breath, inviting in a sense of vitality. And with the in breath, breathing in peace, breathing in clarity. Now imagining yourself in a special place in nature. This can be a place that you've visited many times before, or this can be a place that just comes to you right now. So just taking a moment to imagine this place. Noticing the colors, the quality of the light there. Noticing the sounds in this place. Noticing any smells or tastes. And noticing the sensations of your body as you immerse yourself in this special place in nature. And here in this place, here in this beautiful, precious, alive place, Just as you're breathing, you notice that your body feels a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more vibrant with each breath. You breathe and feel yourself supported. You breathe and feel relaxed and nourished. With each breath here, deepening into a sense of relaxation. With each breath, receiving the nourishment and the support of this place. With each breath, just breathing in a sense of connectedness and oneness. Breathing in a sense of peace. You feel deeply relaxed here. You're totally supported here. Your body and mind and heart and spirit feel nourished. So invite yourself to breathe fully here. And drinking all of this in, this sense of relaxation, this sense of connectedness. And just in this moment, asking if you're needing something in your life, if you're needing some support or some clarity or some guidance, you can take this moment just to ask the question. And just listening softly, being open to whatever comes. And it's okay if you don't have a question. And it's okay if you don't hear anything in this moment. And just taking a few breaths. With the intention of being open to receiving any guidance or any wisdom from this place of connection, this place of nourishment and support. And while still focusing on being in this special place, just notice the life around you. Notice the life there in this special, beautiful, magical place in nature. Noticing the animals and the plants. Noticing the wind. Noticing the earth. Noticing any water. And looking up at the big sky above and noticing the sun or the moon and stars in this special place. What do you wish for all of this life? What do you wish to give, to offer to all of this? What blessings, what prayers do you offer for all of this life? And noticing in this moment what it is that you have to give. What is it that you bring that you can offer to this place? Be it your love or your gratitude or your care. Notice the gift that you bring. Notice the gift that you carry. And in these next few breaths, just imagining yourself giving that, sharing that, offering that, giving your gifts freely to this place, offering your blessings freely, joyfully. Now taking a moment to thank this place, for receiving you today. And to thank yourself for coming here. And just taking 3 full intentional breaths. Just drinking all of this in. Asking the body, the mind, and heart to remember. Just knowing that you can come back anytime. Because this connection is yours. So slowly bringing your attention back, bringing the attention back to the room, noticing the sounds around you. Giving some movement to your head and neck. Making some small movements with the shoulders and arms. And slowly opening your eyes as you're ready and coming back. So we're going to take a couple of minutes to do some writing and reflection right now. So for this first little writing reflection, I'm just happy to see your faces right now. I invite us to write about what we are grateful for. So what are you grateful for? So let's take 2 minutes to just write about our gratitude. And then I will call us back. So just finishing up the sentence that you're writing right now. And next we are going to take a couple of minutes to write about So the question is, how does or how can cultivating calm and gratitude support you in helping others and the world? So how does or how can cultivating calm and gratitude support you in helping others and the world? So we'll take a couple of minutes on that. So if you can just finish up whatever you're writing at the moment. And then our last question is, how might I create meaning and happiness in my life through helping others or taking care of the earth? How might I create meaning and happiness in my life through helping others or taking care of the earth? So we'll take a couple minutes for this question. Okay, so if you can wrap up what you're writing at the moment. And Jerome, I'm going to ask you if you could please make me the host. I'm going to set up the breakout groups. So just for 5 minutes, I'm going to have you in a small group just to share about some of what you wrote about, some of your ideas about gratitude, the importance of gratitude and how that serves you, and how you connecting with others, you serving, supporting others, how that can create meaning and happiness in your life. Okay. Is anyone planning to not take part in this little 5-minute discussion? Can you raise your hand if you're planning to not? Okay, perfect. Hang on a sec. Michael, Ann, and Jerome, will the two of you be able to participate? Will you have to be in the same group because you don't have headphones? I'll put you in the same group so we won't have an echoey speaker thing, I think. All right.
We would probably have to go into different rooms. So.
Okay. All right. Very good. Oh, into different rooms, you think?
Yeah, that would work.
Yeah, I can do that.
You wanna-
Okay, if you want to. It'll just be for a quick share anyways. You want to? Okay. All right. All right.
You're gonna go? Okay.
All right. Okay. I'm going to assign
Slide
us
the
to our
chair.
rooms and I will call us back in 5 minutes. All right. So if you can just share with your partner about some of your reflections. Here we go.
Okay.
Welcome back, everyone. So I would love to hear some highlights from a couple of people, if anyone would be willing to share anything juicy that came up in your pairs.
I was speaking with Will, and I brought up the fact that that second question about being, I can't say the word, I don't know the words of your question exactly, but something about being calm, how it can be helpful to others. And I gave some examples, but it just struck me as being like a really potent question. And it feels like, especially in this time, but in any time, it really is a powerful or necessary thing to be. Maybe not necessary, but if you're going to hear someone or see someone, or even know yourself in that moment.
Thank you, Michael Ann.
Yeah.
Would anyone else like to share a highlight?
Well, I'll reflect back on the same one, because that was one that we spent some time chatting about, Michael, Ann, and I, and I have a very focused tendency to, if something needs to be done, it's not ready and it needs to be done, and I need to do it. And working more from that space of calmness, I can accept things more as they are, and not undertake more than I can do. So it's very definitely a gentle way of saying nothing's ever going to be perfect, accept it as it is.
Thanks for sharing that, Will. So as we're moving into our last few minutes together, I would love to just open this time up for some Q&A and just for some discussion, some sharing with the group. Does anyone have any questions for me at this point?
Are you a part of a group that gets together regularly to do some kind of exercises, or when I say exercises, I'm thinking in the broadest sense of the word, perhaps community celebrations, collective worship, something like that?
No, I'm actually not. No, I'm not. And I do miss that in my life. I definitely do miss that. It's interesting that I think I grew up Catholic and I don't practice anymore. Though my niece had her first communion about a month ago, and we weren't able to go be with her because of COVID. So we had a little Zoom blessing in the garden, and I've been talking with our niece and nephew about how different people have different ways to pray. And so she said, "Do you go to church?" And I said, "No." And she said, "So you go to the garden, right, to pray because God made the plants. So you go talk to the plants." I said, "Yes, that's exactly it." So the garden, I think, for me is the place where I feel the most just naturally connected to a sense of reverence and a sense of peace. And there are lots of other places in my life where I do experience that, though the garden is kind of it's the touchstone. It's the place that I keep coming back to. Yeah. Is there another question? Thanks for that, Will. Yeah, Caitlin. Ooh. Caitlin, do you have a question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go
Yes,
ahead.
but I think
Oh.
Glenn was speaking, so go ahead.
I'm sorry. Okay. You write that you teach nonviolent communication. Do you do that in like private sessions, or do you go to communities that need it? Or I'm just wondering how one might access your knowledge with that.
Yeah, I do. With NVC, I have planned and hosted workshops in the past, and these days it's really been more by request. So there is a group, an nonprofit here in the community that typically hosts me for their volunteers or their members pretty regularly. Though I've also had people who have been interested, and they've gathered their own group of people. So if you're interested in actually planning something, I would be very, very glad to do something remotely, though I'm not at the moment offering any regular classes, permaculture or communication. I'm kind of taking the winter just to get my feet back on the ground after launching the book. So thank you. And if you are looking for resources on nonviolent communication, I don't know if you know the NVC Academy. It's an excellent, excellent resource. They've got a great library. They do lots of distance courses, and then they have lots of recordings in their library of all the courses they've done over the years. And it's an excellent, excellent resource. It's there is a monthly membership fee, but you can access everything in that. Like, you can access all of their previous courses in the time that you are a member. So NVC Academy. I think the website is maybe nvctraining.com. Yeah. Caitlin?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely going to order your book. So I'm very excited to read it.
Thank you.
And I will in time have the answer from that. But I'm wondering, in terms of sort of the excerpts that you read, it seems like the sort of prescription or the embers are ourselves, and like sort of the internal work.
Yes.
And that I like get it. And every once in a while when I'm in that space, I'm like, oh yes, I remember now, this is where the work has to happen for everything else happen. But the big sort of, I guess, angst for me is that, like, if we're not doing this all together, and if not enough of us are doing this, then it won't be enough.
Yes.
And so I guess do you have like a philosophy or a approach to thinking about working with others, and how to bring other people along, or maybe you don't, and that's the secret, is you let people come when they're ready.
I wish I had an answer for that. I really do. Because so much of my work in the past has been with groups, and I definitely see so much strength and resilience and potential in groups. And I think maybe the trick with this work is that I find that it's almost like the crux, or kind of like the alchemy happens very personally. And I think a group can support one another in doing that. And so I think it takes a group, and that's something that I do hope to start doing, maybe in the next year, is start offering workshops and kind of regular support groups to do this work together. So for people who are interested and intent on doing this, and it is a definitely a personal deep dive. I do. And so I don't know. I would be curious as to, to hear your impressions. And the book is as much about the inner work as it is about taking action as well. So for me, a big theme in the book is about embracing our hope as well as our despair as a way of really feeling ourselves and moving forward and taking action to support and serve our communities. And I think that action does really require, or is more effective in groups. And there is this kind of magical, tricky thing of kind of that deep inner soul searching, digging, that inner commitment, and also the catalyst that a group can be for others in their healing. So I don't have a great, easy answer for it right now. And I do hope to be able to create more groups to do this kind of work going forward. So
Yeah.
thanks, Caitlin.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm noticing that it's 8:31. I think it's probably time for us to wrap up.
Okay, I did want to just have a brief word at the end.
Mhm.
Again, there's a link in the chat for your website and for your book. And if you wish to get a link for this recorded Zoomcast, message us at hello@schoolofliving.org or go to our contact page on our website, schoolofliving.org, and we'll get the link to you. I'll forward the link to you tomorrow, and just as a matter of course. And thank you. This brings us to the end of our Zoomcast, where we pass the hat. If you can, please support the work of School of Living, and the donation link's also in the chat box. And I'll stop the recording now. And
Thank you, Bonita.
Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
being.
you. Very nice of you.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed this.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.